I believe this is probably one of the most powerful things that all investors need that they don't have. They chase strategy, they chase which cryptos to invest in, where for me, it was completely the opposite way. Don't think that you're going to outperform Bitcoin all the time in every altcoin that you pick, but you can start the gradual rotation.
A lot of people might be looking at the all-time high break and just getting nerves and jitters. What's your general take on just what you're seeing right now?
Guys, welcome back to another episode of Tapping Into Crypto. We've got a special guest in today, not for the first time, but he's back again, Mr. Joe Shew from Crypto Consulting Institute. Joe,
Thanks.
Welcome back.
Thanks for having me, buddy.
It's always a good time when people come back for a second episode.
Yeah, it is. Well, our listeners really liked your episode at the end of last year, so we had to get you back. To sort of recap it, it was a 2025 crypto predictions episode. So people also always love predictions, right? But you've absolutely nailed some there. So we might touch on those later in the show, as well as, have your picks changed? Has your strategy changed? Where you think sort of we are in the cycle? So we're going to cover all those juicy insights. But first of all, I thought, we'd do a bit of a background into you, Joe, because we've met a few times now, and I think you've got this really great insight and psychology when it comes to trading, and also just like, life. I've seen the way you interact with a lot of your community, and it's really positive. So I'm keen to dive into that. And joined with me is Pav.
Hey guys. Didn't get left out.
Promised you.
He promised me he wouldn't leave me out. Yeah, it's good.
I always keep my promises.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Joe, mate, how you been?
Fantastic, mate. I mean, Bitcoin's at its all-time high today, so
yeah, what a day.
That makes it always a good day and the sun's out.
And the sun's out, and it's not slowing down either. So, I'm hoping to see some altcoins follow suit. That would be nice. But listen, I think last time we gave a little bit of background into your story, and you touched on, your history in the finance sector and moving to crypto. But I want to get to understand sort of your mindset, how that comes about. So how did the mindset shift from sort of that finance background to more of an open mind when it comes to crypto?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I've been thinking about this quite a bit recently because I believe this is probably one of the most powerful things that all investors need that they don't have, or many investors don't have. They chase strategy, they chase which cryptos to invest in, where for me, it was completely the opposite way, and it just so happened that way, and I'm very grateful that it did. But when I finished working up in the finance role, I had about 6 months off, and I went away and did a Vipassana, which is a 10-day silent meditation retreat.
Wow.
And in that, you meditate for 10 to 12 hours a day from 4:30 to 9 p.m. at night. And you learn to understand your energy flows, but really it's about internal mastery. And what I realized through every investor that I start to engage with, they're looking to change that external reality in order to change that internal. When I have more money, then I'll feel this. When I have more freedom because I have more money, I'll feel this. And everything is an external change that needs to be made in order to change an internal feeling. But we can already change our internal feelings. So the journey through Vipassana, and I've done that several times now. I've done DMT ceremonies, psilocybin, everything in the broad spectrum. And I meditate daily, cold exposure, like everything to realize and harness the internal within me. And creating internally first makes the external show up a lot easier. Where I think in the world of crypto, for the typical day-to-day investor, they're trying to recreate their external to change the internal, and it's graft, it's hard work. So it's about making, rather than going uphill constantly, feeling that it's always hard and I need to do this, it's because the internals are not right, they're not aligned. So basic physics will tell you that a positive can't equal a negative charge. Yet we're all typically negatively charged around money, or there's a fear. We sponsored a charity event the other day, and I was called the crypto guy. On there, we were giving away a few things, and people came up to me, and this one lady said, "Oh, I've just been given some money. I've got $5,000. I want to invest it in crypto, but I'm really scared." And I said, "Don't." because she's already got that charge. I said, go away, work on yourself first, realign that fear of money, the fear of loss, and change that to an abundant mindset, and then go and approach the market, and you will get a drastically different outcome. So that initial 6 months that then led to a lifetime of personal growth and development, which has led to me attracting results in crypto rather than chasing results, which it's just a paradigm shift. It's a broken model to chase and change your externals in order to fill something internally when we can already have that. So it's
as many as people may not want to admit, they kind of come to crypto because they see obscene gains, right? Like that's what it's the biggest advertisement out there, to see something up 100%, and that can be normal. That does a lot to your internal expectation clock.
Absolutely. And I think the biggest shift with crypto is it's like the stock market on steroids, right? So when it moves through these ebbs and flows in such an aggressive manner, if you're not already balanced and operating from a calm and equanimous place, imagine what that does to an investor. It causes them to panic buy, panic sell. Oh no, my portfolio is down 20%. Sell. It's just it's like the absolute reverse. And this is where you see the psychology of the fear and greed index and the flow of money. Purely based on psychology. So it's really getting people to understand that inner sanctum, their inner world first, and being a deliberate creator, which we all are. We all are deliberate creators. That nothing in our reality happens by accident. It's because of how we're internally charged. So that was the blessing that I had, which I didn't realize, but over the years, it's like, wow, okay, this is the core difference. It's because I've learned to master, which you never can, the internal world, to then change my external world. It's a completely different paradigm.
Incredible. I think that's the first mention of DMT we've had on this podcast.
We're getting close to the Rogan podcast.
That's the ultimate goal, right? No, listen, that's awesome. And in terms of like CCI, your community that you have, is that something you try and train, or is that something that people have to sort of go away and do themselves and then come back and sort of approach crypto and the education that you guys provide differently?
Yeah, everything's inbuilt. So the first pillar is investment psychology.
Yeah.
So we're really big on, let's get this. We first teach them about actually understanding the fundamentals of money, the monetary system, the whole concept, and then crypto, and then flow it into, okay, now that investment psychology is the most important part, because I can put you in a Formula One car. It doesn't mean you're going to drive it. You go 200k into the first wall, right? Because you don't know how to turn the bend. So it's not only equipping people with the right tools, it's showing them how to use them effectively even before they hold them in their hands. That's why I think we're the #1 rated crypto education provider on Trustpilot, because we get how to provide results with our clients, not just keep shoving data down their throats each and every day, like, oh, this has happened, that's happened, you need to do this. Everyone reacts differently to the market based on where they are at. You can give people the most incredible tools, but they won't take action on it because they're in a state of fear or like all these different internal colliding feelings. And if you can get a singular flow, it's like turning on a light switch and the current flows to the light bulb. The current has to be flowing in one direction for the light bulb to turn on. But the fear of losing money, the fear of I'm not good enough and what if this happens, that's the counter flow of the current that's flowing through. And that's why the light bulb doesn't turn on for a lot of people. But hopefully that's a light bulb moment for people watching.
Nice segue.
Clipped out with a little light bulb emoji thing. Love that. I want to stay on the user base for a little while, because obviously you're super engaged with your user base, and it's, are we in the thousands now? Yeah. So mainly Aussie based, I assume.
Yeah, predominantly. Yeah.
So, and I met a few on the boat, and they're all like, they're all ambitious, like-minded, all keen to get their teeth sunk into crypto, learn as much as possible, right? So it was really positive to be around people like that. But I want to know, like, since we last met, what kind of questions are you and the team being asked by your community, and like, what has your sort of tune changed in regard to like the education and the responses you're giving to those common questions you're getting asked?
Yeah, good one. So the core questions are really like, where are we in the cycle?
Yeah.
And the other ones are, which altcoins or which sectors do we need to be looking at, and when do we need to be transitioning from Bitcoin. The core message that we have is the major part of your holding should still be in Bitcoin. Because if you look at all the charts, Bitcoin still outperforms. There's the, the Altcoin Speculation Index. I looked at it the other day. It's a really cool tool by Capriol Investments, which you're probably aware of.
I haven't checked it in a while, but yeah, I'm aware of that one.
It's fantastic. Yeah. And the other day I looked at it, it was 15.2% of altcoins have outperformed Bitcoin in the last 90 days.
Yeah.
So the messaging to people is still being super consistent, and that's why I think it's like a breath of fresh air for them, that they're not jumping from one thing to the next. It's like this consistent sit in Bitcoin, gradually rotate, wait until key levels are taken out until you begin that rotation. Don't be too aggressive. Don't think that, I need to transition everything into these speculative alts in the hope that some of them 10x. They can still 10x, but wait until they're actually outperforming Bitcoin. And it's a needle in a haystack environment trying to find the one. So it's just, how much time do you have? How much skill do you have? Where is your money best? And that's the core of what the message is through our newsletter, through the conversations that we've been having. And yeah, it's been going really well. And obviously there are a number of cryptos that we've dialed in on that are outperforming and are above key levels, like the 200-day moving average, such as SUI, which we spoke about last time.
Been holding really well.
Yeah, and Virtuals is now above the 200, and Dogs now above the 200.
Yeah.
So
we'll touch on that. Yeah, we'll make sure to get right into that. But with the index, I think that's a really key message is like, 15% is outperforming Bitcoin in the last 90 days. It's like
85 is not.
Yeah, exactly. So
it's a lot.
You can basically say, well, you basically have a 15% chance of outperforming Bitcoin when it comes to picking altcoins. Like, yes, some will outperform, but most won't. Some people might have more knowledge or insight into some altcoins, but for the majority, you won't pick the coins that outperform Bitcoin, right? So it's a super strong message.
A risk reward, and that's what the consistency of the message is. Like, don't think that you're going to outperform Bitcoin all the time in every altcoin that you pick, but you can start the gradual rotation. I literally think of turning a volume dial.
Yeah, it's a good way
turn it from 0 and then gradually turn it up. There will be a point in the market where the speculative index for altcoins will be up in the 90s.
Yeah.
And that's when you can close your eyes, throw 3 darts at a dartboard and hit bullseye with all of them. And I used to say this in the events that I ran back in 2017.
Yeah.
Don't think because you're winning now that you've mastered crypto. And this is the problem for new people. This is like their first cycle, let's say.
Yeah.
They get these wins, they feel invincible, and then the market gets ripped under them.
Yeah.
And they get humbled real quick. And even people that have been through their second and third, this is like my full cycle effectively now. And I see the patterns still playing out, and you still have to really guide yourself and dial in on where you're spreading. And I guess the other message to that, talking about altcoins, is how many altcoins you hold. It's I've seen some portfolios and I've had a heart attack looking at them where they put like 40 to 50 coins in there.
Yeah, I've seen those.
And I just say, so when the market moves direction, how are you managing your 40 to 50 coins?
It's a lot of plate spinning.
It's too many. It's like I've got 2 hands, right? So I would typically say in the absolute peak of the bull run, if you have any more than 10 coins, you're doing it wrong. You're better off having 10 charts that you know inside out, that you have all the alerts set up, and you can automate most of the trades anyway, and then you'll do really, really well. But I think what happens, people follow people on YouTube and it's like, oh, this coin and this coin and this coin.
That's the thing we're not seeing right now. Like, exactly that point. All the influencers come out, all the Coals, you want to call them these days, they'll all be telling you need to buy this or you should have exposure to that. And you're just like, all right, well, I guess I have to. So you buy a little bit. And that's how you end up with those 40 plus portfolios. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah. And that's how you get rug pulled all the time by these influencers that don't care about you.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot to unpack there too. But like, for the person that's just uninitiated, they're just coming in, maybe it's their 6-month anniversary of being in crypto. What are 6 months on that point?
Yeah.
What do you think is a key thing everyone needs to take away right now that's just getting in or getting started?
Honestly, I would just say have a long-term vision. Don't try and play this cycle. I would say dollar cost averaging is your best friend, where it's lower risk, consistent. Weekly's best on a Monday morning based on the data that we have. And just buy Bitcoin and don't even worry about altcoins this cycle. And then you can start to transition. And again, that depends on your risk level, your skill level, your background. There's many factors that can obviously change that, and obviously your education as well. If you
exactly,
if you train with the best, you can certainly fast track that. But at the same time, let's slow it down and not get emotionally attracted to the shiny lights on YouTube that all the fish swim to, because unless you're really a master, then you're just going to get handed to you again and again. And even people who are like top level still do. There's many experiences that I've had, and it's just dialing that down and reducing the risk and managing it, which is in the framework and the strategies.
Yeah, absolutely. I think last time you were on, you spoke about how you had a strategy of, okay, you were trading and you were taking profits of that trade, of those trades, and you're putting it into 2x leverage Bitcoin.
3x now.
3x. Okay.
3x, and it's done me bloody well. It's done me well. I'm ecstatic because Bitcoin's more predictable. Yeah. And Bitcoin upside was more measurable, and I could see the continuation of the performance with Bitcoin, where altcoins like the 15%.
This feels like this.
So it's like I can get those hyper speculative altcoin gains on Bitcoin. It was such an easy framework, and I'm still holding the leverage position, and the numbers keep going up. Yes.
Are you that hyper liquid whale?
What's that?
Liquid whale?
I'd like to remain anonymous.
No, that's awesome. So, yeah, I mean, might as well dive into the predictions episode and gloss over some of those picks you had for the start of the year. Sorry, were you going to?
Yeah, no, I was going to say, so what was it? Virtuals, you had dogs, Sui, Eigen, I think you mentioned last time as well.
Deep.
As much of it evolved since then, or you kind of sticking to what you saw back then? You're still
sticking to what I said. Yeah, they're the best runners. Glanced over at Beam a couple of times. I think that's a really strong gaming project, but I haven't invested in it.
Has it done much? I don't know. We're both invested. I haven't checked it in a long time.
Yeah, I sold mine.
Did you?
Yeah, it was performing well. PopCap performed really strong.
Yeah,
that was a good one. Solana's getting there, and it looks like it's ready for a breakout. It's still under the 200-day moving average, but against Bitcoin, the Sol Bitcoin chart looks really strong. So it's just measuring up. How I'm really effectively doing it is what's the layer one that's performing the best, and then doubling down on that ecosystem. So Sui was doing really well. So Deep obviously performed really well. Solana looks like it wants to show its hand. So I should imagine PopCap will start to run. PopCap's probably going up to 65 cents, the 200-day moving average. And that's where I would cut the position and then remove that risk out, reassess from there. And that's exactly what I did with Dog. I think I actually ran a leverage trade on Dog, which I wouldn't usually do, but the way that I'm structured in UAE, Bybit only had leverage on Dog.
Oh, really? Okay, there you go.
They didn't have a spot option.
Oh, interesting.
So I was like, okay, I'll leverage Dog. Sure, I did a 2x lever on it. I could have done a 1x, but I did a 2x lever, and I sold all my holdings at the 200 and made 55% in a couple of days.
Yeah,
so I was like, sweet. And that's the skill as well. It's like, okay, it's knowing when to close the position out, knowing when to manage the risk, and then reassess the market. And once you've had a winner, stop and literally walk away. Like, go for a walk, reset yourself, because when you're hyped up and amped up, you're trading from the wrong place, and when you feel low, you're trading from the wrong place. It's like that non-egotistical, I'm flatlined, I don't feel anything, it's non-emotional, this is just purely based on data, not my feeling of.
And that gets bloody hard when things go vertical. Like
it does.
3-4 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just, the strategies are there. I know when I'm exiting my leverage trade on Bitcoin and it's just under 120, and I will check the charts, and I see, like, if we start losing the 10 EMA as an example on the daily, that's a big guidepost for me.
Okay.
And that's probably when I'll close my position. If it's up near the 120 mark, which I think, is that the 1.618, 2.618 extension? So that's like a strategy. If you've got your strategy laid out and you're good at sticking to your plan, or at least double checking the plan at this level, check these indicators, then it really, really helps.
Yeah. And we discussed categories obviously last time, and I think you called out certain categories like AI agents and in particular virtuals there. So, and that's been ripping in the last couple of weeks, like being a top performer in sort of that top 200 market cap list.
Yeah.
So you picked that pretty well, and then you had the Bitcoin ecosystem, and I think you picked Dog from that.
Yep.
Layer ones, you had Sui. So I think they were the only categories that we discussed. Have you seen any other narratives play out, or are you looking for narratives to come into action in sort of the next 6 months that you're keeping a strong eye on?
Yeah, I'm going to be a bit boring here and not throw out the exciting nature of all the other markets. I will keep a very close eye on DeFi.
Okay. Yep.
I'm very in two minds around DeFi. I've heard a lot of top analysts that I've spoken with personally, and they've mentioned DeFi. I know funds, certain funds are in DeFi as well. I just think the nature of it is still too far away from larger investor acceptance because of the rug pulls and all the challenges
hacks.
the challenges that can happen within it. And you can get insurance through Helmet and different companies, but I just feel like we're too far away, and there needs to be not necessarily, well, I guess some form of regulation without stunting it. But I think people still have a hangover from CeFi imploding on itself as it did, and a bitter taste in their mouth.
What are you meant to do, right? Like, it does seem hard to trust.
Yeah, and it's high risk.
Yeah.
I just don't, I'm not too...
Especially when you can measure risk in a meme coin these days, it feels like that's a more...
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to get rugged. Well, you can, but like some of these more vetted, community-driven meme coins, they're about as solid as you get in terms of tokenomics, as much as people don't want to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know Sam, our head analyst, has been going a lot wider, looking at MicroStrategy and 21, and now MSTY, which I'm not super a fay with. I know James is, so you can maybe ask him around that. But yeah, that's definitely an area that a lot of people are starting to diversify in and getting outsized gains in MSTR, obviously, the way that that's set up, but now MSTY and the consistent monthly returns. Just
what's
phenomenal.
MSTY?
So it's like a structured product, it's like a covered call on MSTR. So it basically says if MSTR goes up, you get paid a yield. So it's like giving you returns, but you hold the stock, but you don't.
Is it like a derivative?
It's an ETF, but they effectively, structured product is what they do.
Yeah.
And just gives you exposure to like sophisticated market making tools, but generate yield.
And a yield of 85 to 120%. So when it first started, within 3 to 4 months, you could have got your full initial investment out.
Damn.
And I was talking to James about this before. It can seem somewhat questionable when everything goes to zero.
Yeah,
so I think if I was investing in that space, which I will start to do, I will take every single dividend payment out and I will not reinvest. And I'm okay then, and I'm sure within a short period of time I'll surpass my initial investment, and then
your risk is
then I'm risk off. So it's just not worth taking too much risk in crypto, the highest risk space there is in humanity.
What do you mean, mate? I mean, we haven't talked about RWAs in a long time.
It's quiet.
Been Trump focused.
We do have a focus on Ondo as the RWA asset because of who's backing it. That's really the only one that we've ventured into. I know there's a number of different cryptos in the space out there. And
I've seen Maple Finance has been
they've been coming back
ripping and tearing. They were launched by a Aussie bloke who former NAB banker. So interesting. I actually met the guy, but interesting one to watch. But Ondo, when you say they have who they're backed by, are you referring to BlackRock?
Yes.
And who else was it? Was it just BlackRock? Yeah.
I think there's someone else as well.
Yeah. No, good stuff. Cool. Pav, anything else you want to touch on?
Hey, I mean, a lot of people might be looking at the all-time high break and just getting nerves and jitters. Like, what's your take on like the phase that we're approaching, or we're approaching an end of a phase? Like, what's your general take on just what you're seeing right now?
Yeah, I know that there's been so much emphasis on the liquidity cycle and the business cycle. And I think it's like once the narrative starts circulating, everyone's following the same thing. And I do think there's emphasis to it, but I also think if everyone starts to follow the same thing, it loses its power.
Right. Yeah, agree.
So yeah, the 60-day offset, I know there's the 8, 10, 12-week future forecast, and that puts Bitcoin up in the upper echelons of the like 180 region. So I'm still very positive. We have a quadrant thing that we work to, so we analyze that every month, and that will give us a health check of where are we in the cycle. And part of that is TA. So we will really look on the weekly. So if we start to lose the 10 on the weekly, but shorter term, I look on the daily time frame, and certainly the 10 on the monthly. As soon as we lose that, it's like end of cycle, we're done. So that's like the last marker, because obviously it's a monthly chart and it's very lagged by then. So I would say, yeah, just people should keep watching the weekly charts more than anything, rather than getting too microscopic and seeing that we hold the 10, because naturally in all past cycles we've had, as soon as you lose that level, that's when the market has started to turn over. So I'm still very confident of continuation and upside from here. I think the whole world continues to choose crypto. You might say Donald Trump's certainly waving the flag, and the regulations that continue to get passed, and stablecoin regulation as of recent.
Bit of aggression there.
Yeah. So I think as long as you can remain really detached from the price and just see things for what it is. Does it lose market structure technically? Is it losing key moving average levels? Is it getting overextended? Can I manage some of my risk and take some profit? And again, that comes back to psychology. Yeah, but what if it keeps going up?
Yeah.
Well, at some point you got to be okay, because at some point it won't keep going up.
Yeah.
And that's where, if you've done well along the way, and comes back to targets and strategy, but looking at the macro environment as well is certainly important, as we've seen. Interest rates, where are they at? Is inflation still high? And that's why we have the quadrants. It's like psychology is another one, and then certainly on-chain, which I won't speak too much on because of who's coming next.
Yeah.
But we certainly watch a lot of his stuff as well. So that's going to be really interesting to see what he says. But it's all the short-term holder profit levels, how they're interacting short-term to long-term holders, which is 155 days is what the difference is. And that relationship. But when long-term holders start taking profits, which we saw earlier, and now the holding is starting to tick up strongly again.
Yeah, okay, nice.
That's a really good metric to watch, because people take profits. Smart investors who are typically long-term holders start taking profits when the price goes up.
Yeah.
They don't wait until the peak to start investing and then hold it all the way down. So we want to break that pattern. Yeah, for sure.
And what about tariffs? Because obviously Trump put or reduced the Chinese tariff for 90 days.
Yeah.
What do you think happens there? Like, let's say he just reverts back to that 145%. Do you think we see a repeat of what happened a couple of months ago when he announced them?
I think, I would have to say to an extent, there would be a direct correlation to if he does implement that again. I hope that he's looking past that. I did some analysis, and I used to speak about this in events years ago because I thought there was a correction coming up. I didn't see COVID, but I got something right because I did think there was a massive pullback coming. With, I think it's 16 times there has been a rising power in competition effectively with an established power. So China competing now with the US. 12 of those times, so 75% of the time, it's ended in war, which is a really crazy stat to hear. And effectively that is what's going on, but they will use, there's different types of war, obviously, as we've seen with COVID and, well, sorry, I shouldn't say that because people think that I'm suggesting that COVID was utilized as a war by China. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, but I'll take my tinfoil hat off.
These days, even an economic shock to supply lines is as good as a war for many countries. It is. You flatten that economy's GDP.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's effectively what they're trying to do, right? They're trying to take control. It's control. Yeah. That's exactly what the US make the US great again, bring manufacturing in-house, produce. So I think it does naturally have an impact. globally, and China's the second largest holder of Bitcoin now, if I'm correct in saying so.
Yep.
I don't know how audited any of that stuff it really is. Yeah. The data on the chart shows that, but
this is wallet ours.
Yeah, so I think the reality of it will be that it does have some impact because it is still a risk asset, and I think nothing is spared. Because it's all about monetary flow and challenge of that. So
I mean, it's a fair point because you look at the most recent, let's call it a gold sort of rush that we have seen. It's all been physical delivery too, which is not normal.
Yeah.
So makes you wonder.
Yeah, for sure. And I know obviously the BRICS nations were hoarding as much gold as they possibly could. So yeah, the transition is interesting.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Joe, we might leave it there, but we'll make sure to leave a CCI link in the show notes. So make sure to go check out Joe's community, Crypto Consulting Institute, where you can find education, insights, trading, analysis, I guess. Anything else?
I think an incredible community of like-minded people that want to strive to be better personally and financially as well. So it's just amazing to be around like-minded people. And that's really the core of why I built CCI. My first intention was I want to get the best analysts to work for me.
Yeah.
So they can help and support me, because I recognize there's many people who are much wiser than I am. So I wanted their intelligence and then to build a community of people that can benefit from that as well. So that's really what we've harnessed over the last... Oh, I should actually mention, today, it was the second from last Thursday, 11 years ago, I went to my first Bitcoin event.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah, May 2014. Yeah,
Which one was
wild. It was down in Melbourne, the Blockchain Centre.
Okay.
And it was the first event they ever run, and they just opened their doors up, and a guy named Martin Davison, who's a really good friend of mine, ran the event. There were 3 people in the room. I was one of them. And it was almost every second word that he said, I just had this like explosion in my head, and I was the whole session. He goes, can I just go through it? And we can chat at the end. So I pinned him down for about 6 hours after, just peppering him with questions, because it was, for me, it was that moment where everything just made sense. And I was like, this is what I've been waiting for. And it just unfolded, and
that's cool.
The rest, the last 11 years of history.
I think I met Man. He's an English bloke as well.
Yeah. He's
when
awesome.
I met him, he definitely comes across as a guy who bought Bitcoin.
So I tell
12 years ago.
I tell you how advanced he was. He had ATMs in Bitcoin for Bitcoin ATMs in 2013, which obviously wasn't successful. Yeah. But that's his business that he had, and he was just so far ahead of everyone else. He's on a different planet, quite literally.
Yeah. He was too far ahead of the curve.
Yeah, for sure. But naturally did well. So
cool. Well, Joe, thank you so much for joining us again. I'm sure we'll have you on again before the end of the year, maybe for the 2026.
Bitcoin top.
We'll see.
Top party.
Yeah, top party. But much appreciated, mate. Always
Thanks
a pleasure.
for having me, boys.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Cheers, pal.